Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
I'm Rock.
Ooh, he's back.
He's
I love
back.
it. He was so quiet last time because he was really tired.
Yeah, and Keone had a lot to say. A lot of really good shit to say.
He had some wonderful stuff to say.
When somebody is on that box, which isn't always a bad thing, that box, that preacher's box.
Oh, we didn't tell you this, Rock, but Aaron Bunce, the author, is going to make us a soapbox, a literal soapbox to hang on our walls, a piece of artwork. Because he likes it. He likes it that we
get on our little boxes.
Once in a while. I thought it was a great idea. We're starting to accumulate more things in here. I think that's a good idea.
But when somebody's on that box and they have something good to say, that's okay. Yeah. It's okay to be on that box.
It's the whole reason of this podcast.
People need to hear that shit.
Keone was definitely on that box last time I was here.
Well, you know what though? I was telling Matt that he was definitely on that box, but it was a lot more calm, and the things he said were so thoughtful. I thought, because we've gotten into some really big rants about government we're all pissed off about a bunch of stuff. It was really awesome, as you and I say all the time, Matt, of being able to sit back once in a while and have some optimistic, positive things to say. He had some really great points about humanity and happiness and the things we need to do to fulfill ourselves.
Especially the religion talk. I mean, we've downed on religion quite a bit, and he very eloquently made a statement that I recently have thought very deeply about and believe very deeply, that I'm not going to down on you for being a religious person if that brings the best out of you.
Absolutely.
But somebody being spiritual or somebody having faith in something, fine. Be that way. It doesn't bother me at all. Just don't ask me to be a part of your cult.
Right.
And don't try to use the government mechanism to force your version of morality upon everybody else.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
And speaking of religion, I was going to give a huge shout out to I've called her Mrs. Matt, I believe.
Mrs. Matt.
Mrs. Matt. Matt's wife's dad passed away last week, and the funeral.
Wonderful person.
Yep, good man, and a wonderful life, well lived. Wonderful dad, wonderful brother, uncle, and neighbor. As a lot of people had things, positive things to say about him when we were standing around listening to conversations. Boy, she gave one hell of a eulogy.
I haven't been to a lot of to a lot of funerals, but that was the first one I've ever cried and then laughed my ass off and then cried again and laughed again.
And she said, I'm not. I love it when people who get up there and say, "I'm not a very good public speaker, but I'm gonna rock your shit for a little bit here," or "I hope I can hold it together." I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. And she had a couple of tough moments, but just pushed right through. Was so funny. It was such a heartfelt, thoughtful, honoring thing for her dad. I never caught off guard by your wife because she's a wonderful person, but those times can be really tough to think clearly
for sure.
and she just did a fantastic job. I just thought it was wonderful.
Thanks, buddy. Great. I appreciate that. Yeah. That whole experience, just real quick, and then we'll move on to the stuff that we were planning on talking about tonight. It's really... I find myself getting very angry, which I'm an angry dude anyway, when I see things that I don't agree with. When a family is going through the saddest time of their lives, it's when another family member passes away. So when they're going through that sad, horrible moment, and then they got to go to the funeral home. I walked in at a point. I got to the funeral home later that day after he had passed away, and the whole family is in there, and they're talking to the funeral director, and he has this whole Excel spreadsheet up, and he's running through the costs of everything. Now, they had her mother and brother and sisters had been there previously, like a month or two ahead of time, to kind of get a gist of how it was all going to go down. But for me, seeing it for the first time and hearing the funeral director say, or looking at the grand totals being like $8,000, almost $9,000. Everybody's in a state of shock. Everybody had been up since like 4 a.m. Well, yeah, it's the only business. It truly is the only business because taxes, they say death and taxes, right? But the tax way we tax people could change someday. But death is the only I mean, they just got it locked in. You're fucked. Once you die or your family member dies, how many options do you truly have? It's such a monopolized, nasty snake oil salesman.
Did you really feel like they
used
handled
car
it that
sale-
way?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of nice things. The person had a beautiful funeral home. He put on a beautiful thing, but I really did not appreciate him saying, "Oh, and by the way," I mean, there's little things that really pissed me off, like, "Oh, this person has to sign a certificate, a signature on a fucking piece of paper. That's $85." What? Why the fuck does that cost 85 fucking dollars? Why are you telling these people right here who are exhausted, who have been up since 4 a.m., bawling their eyes out, just completely emotionally drained, that someone signing their fucking name on a piece of paper with ink, with a Bic pen probably, is going to cost 85 fucking dollars?
And I bet you part of that is you're just like, oh, just do whatever let's just get this done. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you're that exhausted. Let's
Sure.
just get past this. Let's keep going forward. Whatever you need to do, let's just do it.
Yep.
I have a living will, and you can't legally not be embalmed now. By the way, you have to be embalmed.
You have to be
embalmed. Yes, it's a USA thing. It's nowhere else in the world does it like we do. So I would like to have not be embalmed, but then you are going to burn me in a cardboard fucking box, and you're going to stick me in the cheapest canister cardboard box you can find.
Dude,
Nothing.
All right. Now, you think that's simple.
Yeah.
You think that's very simple. That's what they wanted. Maybe not the embalming thing, but they wanted something very simple. This guy is saying, okay, well, we can get an urn with the image of him lasered into the side of this marble urn. And they're telling him, the guy knows already, we're burying the urn. We're not putting the urn on a fireplace mantle. We're not putting it out for everybody to see. It's getting buried in dirt.
Right.
So why do I want his image laser printed into the side of it? And he's like, oh, and we can also do this and we can also do that. Like, no, we want a wooden box with our father's
That's not what
ashes
it
in
was. It was a big American flag looking thing, right?
It wasn't marble.
Oh, okay. So
You know
it
what I
was-
mean?
Okay.
It wasn't made out of marble. And then after all the basics are covered, he's like, oh, by the way, we're going to be feeding people. If you want to purchase the meat and cheese tray. And then the fucking salesman came out of him, and he's like, "Oh, and there's this little clay fucking tablet since your dad's getting cremated. You can take this home. You can write little messages on it, a little message on the front and back, and it will go into the furnace with your father, and it will share that experience with your father. And then when he's all cremated, that can be yours, and you can hold on to it. And it had been through that experience with your father." And I thought, are you fucking kidding me? You sick fucker. That's such a disgust. You're trying to just soak them now. Now it's not even about expenses. Now it's about, and if you'd like this really neat looking clear globe with your father's ashes colored.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not fucking kidding. They're talking about jewelry. They're talking about a fingerprint on a piece of glass that you can wear around your neck. I mean, they are totally...
Ugh. It's really
it was
gross.
Disgusting.
How was his delivery? Or I understand that, like his tact and the way he approached and talked to everybody about these things. Was he at least like understanding,
He was
consoling?
he was actually very tactful. It wasn't his tact. It wasn't how he was saying it. It was just the fact that anyone would be saying it to my family at this point. Because I came in, I come in a little. I'm much more withdrawn than the family, because I didn't get to see my father-in-law very much over the 12 years that I've been married, and I think I was just a lot more clear-headed. So when I came in and I was seeing this, and I felt like them being kind of taken advantage of, and luckily they were all very clear-headed, and they're like, no, we don't want the magical globes, Merlin globes, we don't want those, we don't want the fingerprint necklaces, we don't want all that craziness. Let's just do with what we told you we wanted to do a month ago. Just stick with that.
How about we make a pact? Okay.
To have that tunnel from your house to my house?
Besides that,
Okay.
we've always wanted to have tunnels or a bridge so we can have pancakes, family gatherings. Anyways,
For you want a tunnel so you can have pancake
Well,
breakfast
it's
together?
either a tunnel or it's a skywalk.
yeah,
Oh,
one of the
gotcha.
two. It'll happen someday.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be dressed to go to his house. I don't want to
Exactly.
have to go outside and deal with the weather.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, make
Duh,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Jesus, can we be any more clear? God damn it! I want you to steal my body. I want you to find
Jesus, you're
out
getting me
where
in
I've died.
trouble
I want you
now.
to go. No, I want you to go to the morgue. I want to be on ice at a morgue after I don't know, car accident, natural death, whatever it is.
We have it on record,
You have
ladies and gentlemen.
You have to steal my body, and you have to take me out my dad's property somewhere and put me on a funeral pyre and to burn me to a pile of ashes and then bury it and plant a tree on top of it.
I'm going to need his help.
Okay. I hopefully
You're
will.
kind of a big fella.
Hopefully we'll lose maybe a little bit more weight by then. We should be pretty solid. I'm thinking that. So I am going to do that for you if you'll do it for me.
It'll, here's I did actually think about this question while my father-in-law was really sick and in a lot of pain last few years, which was if I was in the same position, horrible pain, if I were to say, please, if I were to beg a loved one, if I were to beg you, my best friend, please put me out of my misery, you couldn't do it.
I could do it.
No, you couldn't do it because then you'd be going to fucking jail.
You're bringing up the whole assisted suicide issue.
I am, but I mean, at a certain point, I don't want to pay a doctor to do it. I have a gun. I know exactly where to put it on me. I know where you need to fire. We'll make it clean. I just want my buddy to be there. I want to say goodbye to my family, have it done. Boom. But you can't. You really couldn't. I'm almost 40, and I think of this. I project these ideas of what it's going to be like when I'm 80 or 90 years old. I'm almost 40, but my brain, it's almost like when I look in the mirror, I don't hardly even recognize who I am because I feel like I'm in my 20s.
Right.
My brain is, hey, I haven't gotten any older. I'm in my 20s. When I'm 80, I'm probably going to feel the same way. My body's just not. I'm going to be basically a prisoner in this decaying body.
Right.
So I'm really pretty sure I'm going to be feeling that way. I don't want to wither away for months and months or even years on end.
Maybe you could do it like Native Americans did when they got
Just
old and they
wander
just wait in the middle of winter and just wander off and sit beneath a tree, and eventually you'll stop being cold and things will just shut down and you'll go to sleep. It's not a painful death. You're cold for a little bit, but then after a while your whole body shuts down numb-wise to save your brain. So I mean, it's like
maybe when I'm 80 we'll have the winter that we're having right now.
Oh,
and I'll be able to do that.
I love winter, and it's getting old.
You know what? I really appreciate that. Very nice thing that you said about my wife and the funeral and everything like that. And thank you everybody out there who's put out their best wishes and their prayers for my family. With that, let's move on.
Sweet.
What's today?
You want like the date?
Yeah, what's the fucking date today?
21st, January 21st.
It's 21st. Here, I'm going to leave you guys off with a topic.
Okay.
Marco Rubio. Anybody know anything about the scandal?
I actually have no clue what happened.
No clue.
You said something about it.
I heard about it.
He just got called out by the Washington Post. A reporter was going to do a big bio on him, and he started going through all this paperwork. And Marco Rubio, all of his campaigning has been around him constantly shoving it down people's throats about him being the son of immigrants that cannot. It's not even immigrants. It's people that can't go back to their own country. They were kicked out.
They're Cubans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it came out that no, they had actually left 2 years before Castro came there. They weren't refugees. And so everything he fucking said about who he was and his upbringing and his parents is a big fucking lie. Is a huge fucking lie.
That's too bad.
It is really too bad. So I'll play a video on that later, but it's really disgusting.
I am no longer surprised.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Republican who's like an anti-gay guy who comes out as being gay, or it's a Democrat who comes out as saying, I was this way growing up and it's come out to be the opposite of that. I am just no longer surprised that our political system is made up of liars and crooks. It just seems almost like a norm to me.
I think politics naturally draws those types of people to itself.
But I mean, it's really supposed to be, ultimately it's supposed to be people representing us. right? I mean, that's who it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be people representing the things that we want. And so it should be a person. I mean, that's the thing is I keep getting drawn back to, and I think maybe it's why people are so surprised. Like Matt just said, is they're supposed to just be people that are representing us. And so it's like, in other words, 100,000 people should be able to call Bruce Braley and say, hey, listen, most of us want this thing to happen. 100,000 of us want this to happen, and 30,000 of us don't. But the majority is going to rule in this instance. And so that's really, even if you don't believe in it, that's how you should be avoiding or moving things forward for us as a representation of us. And it doesn't seem like it works that way. We're not a special interest. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that a political position is appealing to people who want to exert power over other people. And most people who are problem solvers don't want to go into politics. They don't have that desire to be a politician, to control things. They want to go solve problems. They want to be.
Isn't that means we need to redefine our idea of being a politician? We should want to have those people in particular be our politicians. People who want to be money hungry and power grabbing. Start a business and do your own thing. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, but that doesn't have to necessarily involve me.
But they can get money really easily. I mean, a political position is an easy way to get rich because you can do insider trading.
Right.
Because you can get invested in contracts or in companies that you give no bid contracts to. And I mean, what are some of the other benefits? A lot of these politicians get
you get
benefits for their whole life.
Rest of your life.
So you have all this free, awesome stuff, all these great ways to manipulate the system and make yourself rich and get your family set up for generations.
So why would you not want to do that? It's almost like here's the golden buffet you get to eat from for the next 2 to 4 years, whatever it is you do, and then you're going to stop going to that? And why would you not want to keep doing that?
And the golden buffet continues even if you don't get reelected because you still get a lot of those same benefits just after serving one term.
Right.
So there's a lot to be gained from just getting elected one time. But I think the power that a politician wields is contagious, or it makes them thirst for more power. So they kind of want to keep getting reelected. They like having everybody suck up to them and having the inside information and just.
Do you think term limits would be a big answer to that?
I do. I think term limits would be a good thing.
Because then you couldn't get comfortable. You're going to know it's going to end. So if your goal is to get in there, you're going to get in there to do certain things, and hopefully people are backing you because of those things. And then whether you like it or not, you're done. So you might want to accomplish something while you're in there. I guess you're going to have charlatans that want to get in there and just make as much money as they can with the opportunity. But you would think, but even those situations would be far and few between because eventually they'll be gone.
Or, somebody who's about to, I mean, I could see ways that politicians could get around that system. Let's say somebody whose term limit is about up. Well, he says, well, hey, I'll endorse this next guy and help him get elected if he does such and such for my company or something like that.
Right.
I could always see a way around it. I mean,
what if you'd have to almost, besides getting term limits, you'd also have to get money out of it.
Yeah, you'd have to return government back to its original intentions, which is just to protect our rights and then adjudicate disputes in the courts and not hand out free money to whoever they want to and skew the economy the way that they do now. But when we talk about term limits, we're talking about Congress would be the ones who would have to set the term limits on themselves. Right. So, I mean, will it ever happen? I don't think it'll ever happen. I really don't.
It's just really gross.
It gets turned down every time it gets proposed. Yeah. Ron Paul, when he was in Congress, proposed a few bills that had term limits attached to it and got shot down every time. I think Rand Paul proposed some legislation not too long ago that would require Congress to participate in Obamacare. They scoff at that kind of stuff. They're above the rules that they set for us, type of thing.
Well, I was interested. I think I posted this. I thought it was on Facebook. I might not have, but it says if you make $50,000 a year, you pay $250 a year for defense, $4 a year for FEMA, $23 a year for unemployment insurance, $37 a year for food stamps, $7 a year for welfare, $44 for retirement and disability for government workers, civilian and military, $235 a year for Medicare, and $4,000 in corporate subsidies.
Not surprised.
Like, wow.
If that's true, I mean,
Yeah, right. I mean, this is from, it says whitehouse.gov 2012 tax receipt. I don't know what that means.
I don't know if that's trustworthy, but you know what? I would predict that one of the highest expenses that comes out of somebody who makes that much money would be Social Security, because that's always a big chunk that comes out of all of our checks, and you don't get that back. At the end of the year. That's something they always hang on to.
And so when Matt and Keone have both spoken to this idea of a sales tax. So is that taking away all other federal taxes, like when we do our taxes in April? It would get rid of that kind of thing, rid of the IRS. And how would a sales tax affect all that? Would the sales tax be outrageous to cover some of those things, or how would that work? I mean, maybe you could help me with that, because I don't understand it quite as well.
Well, I think what Keone was talking about is he was presupposing that we took government back down to its original size.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to pay for the monstrosity that we have today. If we got rid of all the income taxes, let's think about the national budget right now. With all the taxes that they take from us, and from every different part of the economy. Think about just the sheer amount of taxes they take. I mean, they're still over $1 trillion short.
Right.
After everything. So government is humongous. So if you were to get rid of all those taxes and all that borrowing and all that money printing that they use to monetize the national debt and the deficit, then of course a sales tax wouldn't be able to cover it. You'd probably have to have 100% sales tax, or probably even more than that,
Right.
So I think what Keone was talking about there was getting the coercion out of taxation. Because we have a fallacy when we say we pay taxes.
It's taken from us, or you go to jail.
Yeah, they take taxes. I mean, we don't pay taxes. I don't write a check to the U.S. Treasury Department. It's taken out of my paycheck every month.
Right.
That's what he was talking about. And if you turn it into a sales tax, then essentially it's a quasi-voluntary tax.
Right.
Because, you purchase stuff.
If you want something, you're going to pay tax for it. So
Right.
You can choose not to pay the tax by not purchasing that one thing.
Right, exactly. But if there's a sales tax on everything, a national sales tax, then it's not so much a voluntary taxation, because you have to buy things in order to live.
Right. But I mean, they could have a lower tax on food and some goods, and have a higher tax on luxury items like TVs and computers and cell phones and stuff like that. I mean, you could adjust it. Mm-hmm. Now, how about the idea of a flat income tax for people? So everybody pays that. What are they? I think it was a couple presidential cycles ago, it was like 15% flat tax.
Yeah, some
or something like that.
Propose things like that. It's still the same. It's still extracted in the same way that our taxes are now. And I don't agree with the way our taxes system is currently. So I don't really have too strong of an opinion on that, because I just see it as a continuation of what we have going on now.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it might technically be more fair, because everybody's paying the exact same percent. If that percent was 0, that would be great.
Right.
Flat tax of 0%, or even like anything below 5%. It's something that would be a vast improvement to what we have now, because I believe that the more money you keep in people's hands, the better it will get spent, and the more efficiently it'll be allocated to people's actual true demands.
Right.
And lead to economic growth. I think when government takes a large portion of our money, they spend it inefficiently, and they usually put it into parts of the economy that don't really need it, and they create distortions. Because where governments tend to spend money does not reflect true demand of the consumers within the economy. They just kind of,
inflate certain areas.
Exactly. They inflate certain areas that necessarily don't need to be inflated, but they get credit because you can see some jobs in that areas that they tried to inflate.
Okay.
It's like, oh, yeah, there's jobs there. But like I was talking about last time, when I think Todd brought up something about government jobs, and I says, well, when the government, or he brought up the topic of Ron Paul and getting rid of departments.
Oh, right.
Of all the big departments. Well, government can take money and create a whole bunch of jobs. They can take money away from the private sector and then hire a bunch of people to do any kind of job they want them to do. But, when they take money away from the private sector, we don't see the jobs that would have come into existence, but we do see the jobs that the government just put into existence.
Right.
So politicians will take credit for those new jobs created, but it takes an economic-minded thinker to see the jobs that didn't come into existence or that were killed because those jobs were created by money taken from other parts of the economy.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And do you think that the debt the debt and the size of the government should be dealt with before we worry about some of the taxation things? Or do you think it can be done at the same time? Because I think I've said to you a number of times is to have your ideas and your thoughts about the government and how it should work. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to change unless we get people in there that have similar viewpoints. And at this point, I only know of a small handful of people that are actually have been in politics or are in politics that follow your vein of thinking. Right. Don't you think? I know you wouldn't want to be in politics, but do you think there's how? I mean, people joined the Tea Party because they were pissed off we had a black president. There were part of the Tea Party that were upset because they thought there were going to be more taxes and take our guns, things like that too. I'm just saying that in those things, those really kind of, in my mind, extreme kind of ways of thinking, fringe kind of stuff in some instances, got into Congress. You would think that they, like, Jesus Christ, that's the craziest they've ever heard. But they got elected because they went out there and they pounded things into people's head about how they believed about stuff. So, I mean, don't you think that you could make a difference like that? You're eloquent, you have good ideas, and you have understanding and thought backing what you're complaining about or upset about.
Well, I think it's just comes back to a basic understanding of economics. I think we need more politicians who understand true economics at the fundamental level, so that way they have an understanding of the possible effects of the decisions they make while they're in office. I think most politicians have no idea about how economies function, and which is sad because almost every decision politicians make has an economic element to it.
But hasn't the Keynesian Hayek, that battle has been going on for a long time, hasn't it? Which one is kind of the correct way of looking, or has that been more recent? And I mean, I guess I said recent, like 100 years or so.
It's become more of a mainstream issue lately because we're experiencing the failure of Keynesianism, and we're experiencing the failure of deficit spending and financing because, Keynesian economics says governments need to run a deficit in order to grow the economy. Because if you tax people too much, they're not going to be able to spend money. So government needs to spend money in order to prime the pump, so to speak. And we've been using this same experiment since the 40s or 50s after World War II. We're using it to the highest degree now. I mean, their deficits are bigger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is printing money at $85 billion a month, and unemployment numbers are not getting any better. I mean, you might see a very, very small increase, but some of those jobs that you're seeing added to the economy are not productive jobs. They're service sector jobs. So we're not getting any good productive jobs back in the economy because of these policies. So I think we're experiencing the failure of that. And inevitably, I do think, and this isn't too far in the future, we're going to experience the total failure of it. And my big concern is when we do experience that total failure of it, I'm very concerned about what will be the replacement. Is it going to be more of the same? Which is, if the people in charge now have their way, that's what we'll get. And so then we're going to get obviously the same result and probably 10 times worse. Or are we going to, the people who understand this stuff and have been predicting these things for years and years and years, are they going to have a seat at the table and a prominent voice and be able to like try something new and different? And it's really not that new and different. It's something that this country was, founded upon in the past. But the direction that this country and probably the whole world goes economically is going to depend on what we replace the total collapse and the total failure of Keynesian economics with.
So paint me your, for lack of a better word, utopian idea of what our government would be. What kind of government departments you think we could be rid of, and for example, Department of Education, how that would look different in your kind of utopian idea of what American, the new American education system, paint that picture for me, because it helps me with visuals.
Personally, if you want to talk about utopia, I would personally like to see a world without government. That would be my personal utopia. I understand that's probably not going to happen, not in our lifetime. And it's happened in certain pockets of the world for extended periods of time, but nothing on a scale where you have 300 million, 400 million people approaching in one big society. So government is probably going to be around. I understand that.
So I didn't have to interrupt you too badly, but so how would things be different and work better in your mind without government?
Oh, I think everything would work better. Everything that government currently does in our society can be done much better and much more efficiently by private sector individuals. You can take a look at anything that government does and then look at a private sector parallel and see that they do things 10 times better. The post office, for instance, and then take a look at them and compare them to UPS or FedEx or something like that. When people are having to worry about the profit loss mechanism, FedEx has to worry about that. FedEx has to worry about whether or not they're making money. It does. The post office does not have that check on their performance. They get money no matter what. And when you don't have that mechanism that tells you whether you're doing a good job, whether you're serving the customer well or not, and have the threat of going out of business if you don't serve the customer well, then you're not going to have as great of an incentive to perform efficiently. And government across the board lacks that mechanism that tells them whether or not they're doing a good job in serving the customer well. There is a good video on YouTube right now. It's been up for quite a while, of a private police force in Detroit, Michigan. So since their big economic collapse, police services have not been sufficient to do their job
right
in Detroit. So the market has picked up a lot of that slack. There's been some private security companies that have been sprouting, and if you take a look at this guy, and he explains his philosophy on police work, it's just, he talked about how we're going to respect people's rights. And we're going to try to diffuse every situation with the least amount of violence. When we hire people, we screen them thoroughly because we don't want people who are going to react with violence right off the bat. And I think a lot of times that's just the very opposite. You don't get that kind of screening. You don't get that kind of compassion from a monopolized police force that you do get with somebody whose livelihood rests on whether or not people are going to pay this person for his services. And so I think that everything that government does, I truly believe, and I think we have a lot of evidence for this, that private individuals seeking their own self-interest, it just so happens, does things much more efficiently, and for less money too, especially if you have a lot of competition in whatever industry you're talking about.
And so would that be almost the same thing when it comes to education?
I do. I think we talked about this on a different podcast a while back, but Milton Friedman, he was a famous economist in the 20th century. He was a Nobel Prize winning economist. He had the idea that government should be involved in financing education for our children, but give parents the choice by providing them vouchers all the schools would be private schools, and the students would be sent to these private schools with government vouchers. The parents would choose with their vouchers. The government would give each parent the same amount of money, and with that money, they get to choose which school they send their kids to. So that creates more competition within that market, and it takes away the one size fits all. Government is controlling every single school, right? The top down federal Department of Education, Common Core, micromanaging atmosphere that we have today. If parents were given the money, said, here's the money, everybody gets $3,000 per kid, and they get to give that $3,000 to whatever school they want to send their kid to, you will see the types of schools pop up in the educational field that coincide with what parents want for their children, instead of a one size fits all blanket educational system. I think that would be a great alternative. My personal utopian educational system would be totally free market, completely free market. But I do think that Milton Friedman's idea that I just explained would be a vast improvement over the government monopolized system that we currently have today. And who knows, it might be better than a privatized system. That's just my personal preference that I think would work best.
Okay. All right, I'm going to switch topics really quick here. Mm-hmm. I had a steak last night for dinner.
Yeah, you did.
And I haven't had any red meat. I'm gonna take I think I've been married for 12 years now. My kids up until recently had known me as nothing other than a vegetarian. So I want to say it's been 15, because even when I did eat meat, I didn't eat a lot of steak. So I'm going to say it's been at least 15 years since I had red meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've changed my mind over the last couple of years. I was training for an Ironman. I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before. I needed to take in some more protein because I was breaking things down pretty badly on a regular basis. Long runs, heavy lifting, lots of swimming, lots of biking. And so I started eating a little bit more protein.
Sure.
Mostly cage-free, hormone-free chicken. And then I did everything chicken, turkey, mm-hmm. like sausage, and you name it. The more I could eat it in different forms, it gets pretty old just eating chicken all the time.
Oh, sure.
But the steak was really good. It was grass-fed, all farm-raised, no hormones, no antibiotics, nothing at all. I then can't compare what it would have tasted like next to a regular farm, what do you call it? Industrial farm raised.
Yeah, a corporate cow.
A corporate cow. Yeah. There you go.
Monsanto cow.
And so I can't really compare the two, but I thought it tasted good, and I enjoyed it. I cooked it a little bit rarer than I usually do because I like it a little bit rarer.
Sure.
For some reason, I don't know if I'm getting into as I get older, I'm becoming a little more Cro-Magnon-ish. I don't know, but I wanted it a little bloodier than I remember wanting in the past. But it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that you have started looking in more. I mean, you've been pretty good about some of that stuff, haven't you? I mean, you just watched Food Inc., and you became more aware of, like you said, the Holocaust type situations we have animals in that we use for food. Before that, though, you did eat things pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I've always had a pretty good diet. I try to keep my produce intake very high, try to keep it at least 50% or above of my total food intake. But after watching Food Inc., you see the way that these animals are treated. And like you said, it is like a Holocaust type situation. And a lot of these...
We're going to get shit for that, too.
What's that?
We're going to get shit for saying that because Holocaust is really associated with people.
Sure.
And here we are associating what happened a horrible situation that happened to people to now comparing it to animals.
Yeah, you know what? People have, I think, definitely have a more vivid conscious experience and have a greater potential for suffering. So, yeah, I'm not trying to equate the two, But at the same time, if you watch Food Inc. and you see the way that these chickens are living, man, it's just... If you have a spot in your heart for conscious creatures and you see the way that they are living their lives and just suffering the entire time...
A life of suffering. I mean, that really is what it is, a life of torture.
Like, I can't relate to a chicken. I can't talk to a chicken. But I know that chicken can experience positive experiences and negative experiences. It can experience pleasure and pain. And you know what? These things, all of them, are experiencing pain for their entire lives.
And I couldn't...
that hits me.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. I think that
not trying to equate the two, but I'm just trying to help describe what we saw.
And I wasn't trying, and I was just going to say that we might get some shit for it, but I think that I was a vegetarian for a long time because I thought this is 15 years ago, so really good meat was not available,
right?
And so I was aware of grass-fed, farm-raised, animals kind of being animals until they were slaughtered, obviously, as being the best way to eat. But it was so difficult to find, and it was so expensive. It's expensive now, but not quite as bad. And I'm telling you, I found myself going, okay, I'm going to have to work fucking double as hard to try to find this stuff just to eat it. Mm-hmm. So you know what? It's just not even worth it.
Right.
And so I'm just going to be vegetarian. And so for 15 years, that's what I did. It was just easier for me to find plant-based things to eat, Morning Star, fake chicken nuggets, fake hamburgers so my kids could eat stuff, but like my kids now have a difficult time eating chicken nuggets because they were raised on Morning Star chicken nuggets and they're just different.
What is Morning Star chicken
Morning
nuggets?
Star is all vegetarian kind of like food.
Okay.
So it's like my kids to this day eat Morning Star chicken nuggets, mini corn dogs, their little griller hamburgers are pretty good too. I use their crumblers. That's how I make tacos and spaghetti. Well, you've had spaghetti at my house, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I use fake meat for that because it actually holds more flavor. So that's why I like it. But now that I'm working more proteins into my diet, I keep reading more and more about how vegetarianism is definitely going to be a healthier way to live your life.
It really is.
And so then I don't know if it has to be some kind of conflict between vegetarianism and being a carnivore. If you can have a little, I think moderation is always the key to all this stuff anyways, but when it comes to cancer in our society, it shows that even like Eastern countries like Japan and China, like when they start taking on a Western diet where it stops being mostly plant, like you said,
right,
and complex carbohydrates and a small amount, like we're talking like 3 or 4 ounces of protein at 1 or 2 meals a day, that once it goes to the meat being like, a big 10-ounce T-bone and a pile of broccoli and something and a baked potato, that's like the opposite of what you should be eating. And when the Eastern countries start taking that on, their cancers fucking skyrocket.
Well, one of the things that you guys...
Oh, hey, he's back.
Hey, I'm back. Hey, one of the things that you guys were talking about was Food Inc., right? You guys talked about that. Well, here's the trailer, just real quick, and we'll have a link to it on the website and YouTube. So check this out.
The way we eat has changed more in the last 50 years than in the previous 10,000. The modern supermarket has on average 47,000 products.
The industry doesn't want you to know the truth about what you're eating, because if you knew, you might not want to eat it. We've never had food companies this powerful in our history.
Everything we've done in modern agriculture is to grow it faster, fatter, bigger, cheaper.
If you can grow a chicken in 49 days, why would you want one you got to grow in 3 months?
When you go through the supermarket, there is an illusion of diversity. So much of our industrial food turns out to be rearrangements of corn.
Sometimes you look at a vegetable and say, okay, well, we can get 2 hamburgers for the same price.
They have managed to make it against the law to criticize their products.
There is an effort to make it illegal to publish a photo of any industrial food operation.
I find it incredible that the FDA wants to allow the sale of meat from cloned animals without any labeling.
Peanut butter contaminated with salmonella.
E. coli has been found in spinach, apple juice.
Smells like money to me.
The average consumer does not feel very powerful. It's the exact opposite. When we run an item past the supermarket scanner, we're voting for local or not, organic or not.
Look at the tobacco industry. The battle against tobacco is a perfect model of how an industry's irresponsible behavior can be changed.
Imagine what it would be if, as a national policy, the idea would be to have such nutritionally dense food that people actually felt better, had more energy, and weren't sick as much. Now see, that's a noble goal.
People have got to start demanding good, wholesome food of us, and we'll deliver. I promise you.
I think it's my favorite part is that farmer at the end saying, "Demand it of us, and we'll do it." It's like almost like talking about the free market. If you want it, And we'll do it for you. Just demand it from us. Require us to be producing food this way, and we'll do it. We'll have to do it.
Don't you think it's in a way it's such a slow moving process? We're in an area where we just recently got a Whole Foods market, Nubo market.
Mm-hmm.
Even going there, you can't get. It wouldn't be able to feed everybody.
Oh no!
In Cedar Rapids, if everybody all of a sudden just was like, "Hey, I want to eat organic."
There's a part in that documentary, Food Inc., where one of the organic farmers actually takes that idea on and says, the corporate interest, the corporate farmers want to make you think that we can't feed the world by doing it the way we do it. And he says that's not the case.
Really?
He doesn't sit there and give you evidence, but he seems to believe that that's all bullshit.
Well, and
that's coming from somebody who's really researched everything. He's indoctrinated into this belief system where I'm just giving an opinion. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's
I
hard
don't know
me.
either.
It's hard for me to see that be possible. But I guess my point was, even if we want to eat well, I wouldn't know where to begin. I mean, I used to do personal training. Todd, you and I used to both do personal training. We have an idea of what we should be doing, basically what we should be eating, kind of, to lose weight. Yet both of us are overweight. There's slightly overweight. We're not like obese sons of bitches, but even though we have this idea, it's still hard to enact that regime of ideas because we're so indoctrinated. We're so surrounded with, just sit back, watch.
But you got those options. You got those good options out there. I mean, I think the more you immerse yourself in the education, the more it becomes your norm.
Exactly. And I think you have to partially unplug or plug into the correct things. I think it hit me over the holidays, before I started losing this weight was, not before the holidays, but I ate myself and drank myself sick, throughout the holidays, and came to a realization of I just didn't need to keep on doing this to myself, and why was I? Why was I sitting there drinking beer on New Year's Eve by myself? I wasn't intoxicated, but I was like, why am I drinking this when I'm not even wanting to drink right now? Why do I have a 1 pound bag of M&Ms in my lap, peanut M&Ms, so they're partially good, and that's what I tell myself, and I just it's habitual, and I'm watching TV, and all TV is food all the time.
Can I make a comment about that?
Go for it.
I just wanted to say, you made a great connection with something you just said. You said you just have to unplug sometimes, and personally, I quit watching TV, probably 2 or 3 years ago. Now I don't totally not watch TV. If I go over to a buddy's house to watch a game or something like that, I'll do it. But if I live by myself, and when I'm at home, that thing's never on. I never turn it on.
Or you're adjusting your rabbit ears.
Yeah, or something like that. It's less than 1% of the time I'm home, the TV is on. It's hardly ever. It's been that way for a few years now. And I'm not bombarded by all those subtle messages of fast food commercials and things like that. And I've also not eaten fast food. And, maybe once or twice in the past 2 or 3 years. I totally
bastard.
Well, but I'm not saying that I have strong will. I'm just saying I think a person, this might sound like a very bold statement, but I think a person regains a big part of their individuality when you unplug from mainstream media and just TV in general. There's so many messages being bombarded at us just through TV programming, through TV commercials. It's just all a programming system to send us messages and to influence the way we think and act.
And I think along with that, and I do feel that specifically it's television. That it's those messages saying that you need to do this way, you need to look this way, you need to eat these things. We're bombarded with these fast food commercials with these hot fucking women eating a 1 pound a Hardee's Monster Burger where she looks like she's about ready to fuck it. It's dripping all over the place. And this woman, I guarantee you, when they done shoot that,
she was a Playboy.
She takes the bite. I bet you anything she takes that bite and turns around and spits it into a garbage can because she can't look like that and eat that hamburger.
One hamburger has more calories than any of us need for our entire day. we would have to be farmers. We would have, or I'd have to be rolling around doing jujitsu all day, every day, for me to eat one of those supersize me type meals.
And I guess that's why I said you need to plug into the same thing. You need to plug into the right things, because I think that I know that my mind isn't right, and so I'm not surprised that my eating and other parts of my life aren't right. And so I think it's Mind Body Green is a website that I saw on a Facebook blog or something like that, and I got onto it, and so I was getting messages all the time. And so for the 5 days before New Year's Day, I was getting all these smoothie things and these meditation things and this yoga stuff and like all these really stuff that I wouldn't normally have read. You know, it'd been a casual thing that I would read, but I was every single day was reading over and over again of these ways of how you have to shift, you know, or even Men's Health. I get a Men's Health one that said the top 5 things you need to stop doing right now. And it would be eating these things or doing this one thing, or here's 5 things to add to your day that will make your day better. And so it's just plugging into the right stuff and unplugging the other things.
One way that I plug in to what I consider to be the right stuff is, first of all, I unplug from the mainstream, from the television, and then Facebook. You can go on Facebook and like Natural Livings, Natural News, all these different sites that will feed you information that you want to be fed about, you know, what are good things to eat, what are bad things to eat, stuff like that. So Facebook is pretty cool in the respect that you could choose what kind of information you want in your news feed. So if you want certain types of news sources in your news feed, you can like all those things, and they'll start scrolling through. If you want information about bodybuilding, for example, you can go like a bunch of bodybuilding pages that are popular, and you'll get that information. You know, likewise, if you want information about healthy food lifestyles, boom, go ahead and like a bunch of reputable healthy food pages, and then you're going to get a bunch of that in your news feed. So in a Facebook or whatever you choose to be your medium.
Twitter is the same way.
Yeah, Twitter becomes your medium for information, and you've unplugged from that TV. Boom. Now your norm is this, whatever's showing up in your news feed.
And you might see a change, because people don't know this, but Matt unplugged his house from the television. He doesn't have a cable source anymore. He just has internet. So you have you have a choice about what you're going to be able to feed yourself for that. Now listen, you'll never get me off The Daily Show.
Oh, my wife's
The Colbert Report, 2 of those things are the funniest satirical political humor ever of the last 4 or 5 generations. They're incredible.
Yeah.
So things that make me, because I can get pretty pissed off and depressed about politics too. They make me laugh about things. I do like sitcoms and things like that too, but I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched a television show live. I DVR everything so that if I want to watch a show, I just zip through everything and just watch the show. And so I'm avoiding some of those commercials that I mean, it's a proven fact that they are mind manipulation. They just are. They have found a way to make sure that they know exactly what to say at the right time to manipulate. You put the right products in a certain show to make sure that you see them and go, oh, I want a Coke now. Why is that? Oh, he's walking around with a Coke can the whole time. I mean, there's all kinds of things that they have proven have a psychological impact on you. And then on top of that, you know that food companies now, whether it's fast food or it's production food, they now have the scientific recipe on how to chemically activate your brain so that when you're eating their food, it has the exact amount of salt, fat, and sugar in it, so that as soon as you have a bite in your mouth, your brain is clicking over saying, where is the next bite coming from before you're even done chewing the one in your mouth. And I think I told Rock about this weekend at Mr. Cook's funeral. I hadn't had a lot of sugar in the last 20 days, very much at all. And so I was, there's chocolate chip cookies there. I think there was an entire table of just chocolate chip cookies, first of all. I could just bathe myself in it. It's so wonderful.
Oh, we were all sick. We were all just sick at the end of the day.
Oh, I bet. So I eat a cookie, and I'm eating a cookie, and I was telling Rock today, my mind was like in full fucking, you found an energy source. You just better go. Just grab the Tupperware and go outside and just eat them all. You know, it's like I had this overwhelming feeling of, and it's probably my sugar addiction on top of me not having had very much sugar at all, you know, recently. But I mean, it was, man, it hit me like a truck. And thank God I had the perspective at that moment. I can't say I'd have it again, to sit back and go, oh, wow, this is really a big deal. This is why you're doing what you're doing, because you don't have control over this. If there hadn't been 100 people there and we were in a packed place that we knew we had to get out of eventually so other people could come through, and I didn't have an opportunity to be selfish, I would have had more. I would have sat right there and had more because socially I wasn't allowed to. I didn't. So it's really...
My wife's, a couple of her nieces who didn't have to stand in line and shake everybody's hands and say thank you for coming. They were sitting back in the bistro area, they're bored. You know, they're bored out of their mind. They're watching, there's a plasma TV. They're watching football up there nobody can see. And they're just shoveling in the food, which I couldn't believe because they all look like effing supermodels. But they're just shoveling it in the food. But when it was all over with, they thought, I'm going to be sick. It's, hey, you know, when we think about eating and we think about our health and all this stuff, we have an idea of what we should be doing. We have an idea that we might be being manipulated. You know, some of us have a stronger inclination to that than others, but I think we all have this little feeling in the back of our heads that we're being manipulated in a way. And I've said it in the past that I get to watch YouTube a lot. Or I go to YouTube a lot and I look up different things. And one of the things that I found that was really intriguing to me, Rocky and I were talking the other day. I went to my very first kind of jiu-jitsu rolling around with another grown man. That was my first experience rolling around with somebody my size since high school. And I got wrecked.
You did not get wrecked.
I will say this, for my age and my unathletic ass, I didn't die and I didn't throw up.
I was impressed, to be honest. There was a few times where like you had just got done with the round with Jared or somebody else, and you're laying on your back and you're sucking wind and your face is red, and I would say, you want to go again or you want to take a break? You're like, no, let's go. I really wanted to soak it in like a sponge. Yeah. Like, hey, I don't know what it's going to take me to get to this all the time. So when I'm here, I want to go as much as I can. That's a great attitude. I for one, on Saturdays where it's open gym and it's not a formal class setting, I will take breaks in between because sometimes I get pretty freaking tired from doing that shit.
Well, and this is at Hard Drive, by the way.
At Hard Drive MMA, right. Yeah, they have open gym on Saturday. So I called up Rocky last Saturday and I said, hey, man, I have nothing going on. My kids are at my mom's. My wife is back in her hometown. I'm getting ready for this funeral, and I'm just sitting here with my thumb up my butt. Can we roll around? Can we do some jiu-jitsu? And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. I was just thinking about that. I just need to figure out who's got a key so that we can get in there. I'm like, all right, get a hold of me as soon as you figure it out, get a hold of me. And as soon as I made that commitment, I just started getting I just got so nervous. And then I ended up getting there, and I had a great time, and it kicked my ass, and I was exhausted by the end of it, but it was a really wonderful workout. And everybody that I rolled with was super nice. There was maybe the one guy that I didn't know that I rolled with.
I'm not even sure what his name was. He doesn't come around too often. I know who you're talking about though.
But rolling around with you really taught me a lot, and rolling around with Jared Demonized Downing, who is if he ever lays his hands on you, it's like wrestling a statue.
He's very strong. Extremely strong.
Is so deceptively, weirdly, oddly strong that he's like, all right, when I tap you, we're just gonna go. Do you have any idea what to do? I'm like, no, not really. He's like, all right, well, just don't let me submit you. Just try to fight off your back, and we're just gonna roll, and I'm just gonna keep putting you in moves, and you just keep trying to get out of it. I couldn't hardly move his goddamn arm. Once he grabs his grip strength.
Jared is a beast.
He is a beast, but he's what,
he's probably hanging around 160. When he's not
he's
in fight
160. Camp. He's 70 pounds less than I am, and we were just rolling, so he wasn't throwing me around, but he just imposed his will so effortlessly on me. It was incredible.
Yeah. Two things there. Jared is a freak. He is genetically gifted, athletically genetically gifted, and he's a professional fighter. He knows what he's doing.
Yes.
You know, so don't feel bad about that at all.
I didn't feel bad. You know, when you and Keone said leave your ego at the door, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get wrecked.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. I'm a big guy. I'm a heavy guy. I have some strength, but I know I'm gonna get wrecked because I have no idea how. I don't know what the social norm is. I don't know what's cool and what's not. I don't know how far to push things. And at one point, I had this guy in a hold that I had seen in the UFC, and I'm thinking, why isn't he tapping? You got your arm by I got his arm by his head. I got him in this headlock. I'm thinking at any moment he should be tapping. And I'm thinking,
I love it.
And I'm thinking, I don't want to pull. I don't want to squeeze too hard because what if that pisses him off? And then he's like, I'm gonna wreck you.
The way I approach that, chokes are legit. Go ahead and crank a choke as hard as you want, you know. But when it comes to heel hooks, arm bars, things where you could actually snap limbs,
yeah. Well,
I don't crank on those.
He did like
and
an
anybody
elbow
else
thing
experience
on
won't
me.
either.
He did an elbow thing. I was on top of him. I was in his guard. I posted my left hand down right by his head because I was trying to hold on to you bastards, and trying to keep you as close to me as possible. And I was trying to just to basically fuck with your hands and your wrists.
Yeah, get some wrist control.
Wrist control. So that
always a good thing.
You couldn't be doing stuff to me if I was holding on to your hands.
Good thinking.
So I post my hand down, and he locks his hands together, and he rolls his forearm over, and all of a sudden my left elbow is just like, oh fuck! There was just a ton of pressure on it, and I just start tapping really quick. I freaked out, and I just started tapping
Nothing wrong
real
with
quick.
that. Yeah.
And I go, what the fuck did you just do to me? I have never seen that before. He's like, oh, it's just a elbow lock. I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu's a really, really interesting martial art, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, you know, I always thought of wrestling as a chess match. But this is like...
I think wrestling is a chess match.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is much more of a chess match.
Like, have you ever seen like the Star Trek chess boards? There's like checkboard. 4 levels of the chess pieces.
Right.
It's so much more elaborate than the regular chess. It's crazy.
Well, in wrestling, there's one goal: pin the guy. You know,
True.
Pin the guy. In jiu-jitsu,
or get points.
Or get points.
Yeah.
Take down, let them up, whatever. Get back points. Expose their back to the mat. But in jiu-jitsu, it's you want to make the guy submit, and there's so many ways to make that happen, and so many different situations in which to throw on those different submissions or transition from one to the next. You know, you can go from a triangle. If the triangle's not working, there's the arm bar. If the arm bar's not working, let's try to get off to a hip and work something else. I mean, it's just there's so much. And when you go with Keone, and you will eventually if you keep coming. Going with Keone is really a treat because he's such a smaller guy.
Are you being sarcastic? Are you being
No, I'm being serious because he's such a smaller guy than I am, and you know, he's a smaller guy. He's a featherweight. He fights 145. You know, I'm a 200-pound guy. You know, and he's just so damn good at jiu-jitsu. He's the type of guy that will show you that size doesn't matter if you really know what you're doing. Now, if I had the experience that he does and the know-how that he does, and I had my size and my athleticism behind that, I'd probably own him, you know, but I don't. I'm not as good as him, so he ends up owning me, you know. So, yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Know, and you were talking about all the different ways you can make somebody submit. Dude, I almost tapped you, and I had your back. There was a point where I was like, I was so giddy that I had your back. I was like, we're rolling around. I'm like, oh, sweet. I got my fucking one leg in. I almost got my other leg in. And we were both sitting, you know, we were both sitting on the mat, but I was behind him. I'm like, oh, okay, I might be able to go for a choke here. I was so fucking exhausted at that point. My strength was just leaking out of me. And Rocky gets on all fours, and I literally fall off of his back. I almost tapped just to say tired. I can't fucking breathe. I was so exhausted that I almost tapped. I cannot. The idea of somebody going 5-minute rounds with somebody as athletic as Jared, I mean, or just you. I mean, there's people that have so much more skill than Rocky does. But I could not imagine the level of athleticism and cardio strength and skill to wrestle with these people.
And you got to think though, we're not talking jujitsu. We're talking blows. We're talking strikes. When
it's one thing to be rolling around with somebody and going, oh, all right, he's trying to get me in this submission. But you were in my guard. I'm on my back. Rocky was between my legs. It sounds super sexy to a bunch of gay guys. But that's what the situation was. And all I could think of was keep my legs around him. Keep my legs around him. Don't let him get past my legs. Right? And Rocky's just digging his fucking elbows into my thighs, which are they're just so sore still. He's just digging his fucking elbows into my thighs. He posts his hands on my belly, and then he just digs his fucking elbows into my thighs, and I'm thinking, oh, just don't get around my legs. At any point, that's all I could think about. At any point, if it was a real fight,
MMA fight,
he could have just smashed me with like 4 hits, and I would have been
elbows.
Yeah, and elbows, and I wouldn't be able to think of anything. My whole strategy was don't let him get past my legs. I'm thinking so one-dimensionally that to throw in the rest of all the skills that MMA fighters have, it's an amazingly complex thing.
And I think even I have the least knowledge in the room, but I'll be watching stuff on TV with my wife, and I'll just be sitting there with my hands over my eyes, rubbing my forehead, going, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable!" And she'll be like, "What? Nothing's happening." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? They're laying locked together, trying to get." What do you call
trying
it?
to kill each other.
Trying to get what do you say?
Arm bars or wrist locks or
just trying to get control of each other's hands and pushing against each other. I mean, you're talking about a full body isometric thing for 5 minutes at a time when you're not, like you said, striking each other. You're trying to squeeze and get a hold and push.
Your forearms are on fire.
I just can't imagine that. And so when I watch it, I'm just blown away by their continuous restraining of each other for that long time. She's like, well, they're not doing anything. I'm like, yeah, they are. They're really holding on to each other, trying to stay alive.
You know what's funny is I had a guy I never met before. He's on my friend list on Facebook, and I had an MMA status about something. I can't remember what it was, but he said something about how it's not a real sport. And holy shit!
Firestorm raining down from above.
Yeah, here comes Keone. Here comes Robert Gates. Here comes all my MMA friends who are actually professional fighters, just ripping this guy a new asshole. And he quit responding.
He just stopped after a while
because he got submitted on Facebook.
Because I messaged Rock and I said, "What the fuck just happened with that thing?"
And this dude sent me a private message. He goes, that Keone guy. He seems like a real idiot, and I sent him a message back that said, "Actually, he's one of the most intelligent guys I know." And then he never responded back after that or commented on the status. But man, it ended up going like 30 comments. Like it's so much of a sport, man. It's a more of a sport than most sports.
I'm gonna try on my best day not to make judgment calls on people. I think I've made the point of trying to change not trying to be so reactionary for things, and I learned that lesson because I had a friend who got divorced and his wife posted something on Facebook that was some horrible comment about men in relationships, and it was obviously geared towards him, right? So on the spot, I was just like, made some comment, right? And my wife was like, "Wow, I'm surprised you did that." I'm like, well, hey, he's a buddy of mine. I don't appreciate that on Facebook. That's pretty mean. Somebody's got to stick up for him. She blasted me saying that she didn't post it, that it was something that was forwarded to her or something like that it wasn't her, that had done it. And of course, I went back and fucking apologized because I was like, God, you dummy. I don't do things like that for that exact reason, know?
Yeah.
But I later on found out that she actually did do it, that he was really happy that I had said something because he thought, nobody ever holds her accountable. Nobody ever checks her. And so she was going to get away with something like that. And I was like, well, I just didn't like the idea that, relationships end because two people don't work it out. It's not because it's one person fucked it up, And I think it's really dangerous for you to get out there and, especially on social media, just make blatant statements that you don't know anything about. Because if you knew anything about it, you probably wouldn't make that statement. You know that there's so much gray areas and so many things. You have no way of knowing all the ins and outs of people and the way they approach things, and to say that sport that's not a sport. Even I, who've never done it, could say I could not even imagine doing that.
Well, Keone was saying it on the last podcast. You do it just a couple of times, it'll change your point of view. You do it for 6 months, it'll change your life. Doing it one day gave me a whole new respect. Every time I watch a fight from now on, I'll be watching it and going, "Oh my!" I just had this whole new perspective on how physically demanding this sport is and how much of a chess master you have to be. And yeah, you can go if you're a good boxer, you could go in and land a lucky blow. Anybody can do that and hit the button and have a lucky blow and knock the guy out. And that is kind of the I don't know, the easiest way to win, is a lucky blow. But you get on the ground, it is so amazingly hard. If you come and roll around one time with any of these guys, you're going to be like, oh, I couldn't do anything.
You know what? Your perspective when you watch UFC or actual professional MMA fights from now on. You know how a lot of fans will boo when they're on the ground not doing nothing.
Right.
You'll start to appreciate that shit.
Yeah.
You'll start to be watching two guys on the ground, and when the crowd's booing, you'll be like, "What? This is awesome! I love what's going on down there right now.
Yeah.
I see what he's trying to do. I see what the other guy's trying to do." You'll have a better appreciation for it because you've been there yourself.
Yeah,
and that's why I think I appreciated Steve Carl's last fight where he won, because he was so calm, and a guy had his back, and he's just laying there, and you could just see the look on his face. Is like, okay, he's just going to go through the motions he needs to get through to take care of business. There wasn't a lot of I think Keone said it. He doesn't see a need to jump around and be pissed off and make noise and act all crazy. Why do you feel the need to do that if you're not skilled at what you're going to do? And I think Steve Carl also, I thought of that. I saw him wrestling. I was like, God, that guy's fucking calm.
He is a seasoned veteran, and he is a composed, ready-to-go fighter. He's awesome.
That was, I've had a couple conversations since Saturday with my chiropractor who did hop keto and a couple other people about jiu-jitsu, and they said, so what is it about this that makes you want to do it so much? I mean, what is it that's different than taekwondo or working out on weights or going for a mud run, or why do you feel so passionate about it? And I thought it gives me, so far in my life, this is the one thing, besides I did some boxing in the Army, but this is the one thing that truly, one, it cardiovascularly wears you out, physically wears you out. You're using every muscle group in your body when you're rolling around with somebody.
Ties it all together.
And the one thing it does that no other fucking thing does, besides maybe boxing, is it makes your fight or flight syndrome kick in. And you start hyperventilating. I started freaking out. There was a couple of times where I thought I'm going to fucking die because I was just breathing so heavy, so hard. I thought at any moment I'm going to get choked out. And I had to keep thinking about what Rocky said, what Jared said. Hey, you just have to breathe. Just relax. You got to remember to relax, because if you go balls out 100%, you're just going to be dead.
And your adrenaline, if your adrenaline kicking through, you're going to be wiped out.
So how often do you get to do that in any other sport, truly, in any other way of working out? Even CrossFit, it's a fairly safe
it's not
scenario.
like that at all. Yeah.
You have to work. You have to fight that beast to stay calm.
I remember having you in a triangle for a minute. Do you remember this? And you actually were very composed, and you thought, I could see it in your eyes. You were thinking, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? You tried a couple things, and then you stood straight up, and actually, picked me up off the ground a little bit, and eventually you got out of it,
Right.
You didn't tweak out, and you didn't go, and just start, going into a frenzy.
I started thinking, do I put a lot of pressure on him? Because I've seen one move where the defense is to put a lot of pressure on the person who's doing the triangle on me to kind of crunch you down and keep. I've also seen, don't stand up, because then you're straightening out your arm and you're giving them exactly what you want. But I've also seen, compose yourself, straighten yourself out. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of different ways. So I was trying to just think about everything.
It sounds like jiu-jitsu is a very different thing, and I think that if you can't say MMA is not a sport, because then you're gonna have to take out karate and judo and taekwondo. I mean, you'll have to take those out as a sport as well, because MMA is a mixed martial art. It uses martial arts, a lot of different martial arts, to do the sport itself. So that to me, it's made up of sports. I mean, so why you think it wouldn't be a sport is kind of ridiculous of it in itself. And I think it's going to be pretty hard to compare jiu-jitsu with any other sport. I mean, I think it and CrossFit are two completely different things. You know what I mean? I do like the functional aspect of CrossFit, but I can right away understand why jiu-jitsu would be something that would be better for you cardio wise and give you a different experience. Like you said, that fight or flight. I think Joe Rogan talks a lot about that as well. That's why he likes it, is it engages his fight or flight at such a high intensity level almost every day that it keeps him as a much calmer person all the time. He's much calmer because he's already dealt with a life and death, quote unquote life and death situation, so to speak.
One of the cool things Rocky said Saturday when we were all done and people were walking out of the gym and he's getting ready to sweep up and clean the floors, was he goes, I don't do this so that I feel like I can own somebody. If I were to ever have to get into a conflict, I don't do this because I feel like I had to puff my chest out or do anything like that. He goes, I work out on weights and I work out really hard in the gym and other places so that when I come here, it's actually an outlet for me to use the tools that I've been preparing. I've been trying to get strong in the weight room and cardio wise, and so then I get to come here and test how I'm doing.
And the interesting thing is, I went back into hard drive probably around winter break. It was early, mid-September or mid-December, and I had not been there in months. Okay, but keep in mind at this time I'm still in really good shape. Like I'm in, doing all kinds of cardio, strength training. I'm in really good shape. The first day I went in there, 2 5-minute rounds, and I was done. It's such a different kind of cardio.
Right.
It's such a different kind of cardio that no cardio conditioning workout can adequately prepare you for it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it and keep doing it in order to condition yourself to adapt to it. But I will say this: the very next day after that day where I did 2 5-minute rounds and I was done, I told Keone, I was like, "Hey, I'm done. Like I was beat. And here I am, and I'm in very good shape. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. But
no, you are.
Yeah.
You're in very good shape.
And the next day, and Keone even told me this. He's like, "Come in tomorrow, you'll be fine." He's like, "You'll adapt so quickly." The next day, I went 10 rounds, no problem. Yeah, no big deal. It was like
what was the clock set at? What were we doing?
5-minute rounds.
Those were 5-minute rounds?
Yeah. 5 minutes and 4 seconds, actually.
I told you, because I thought I had seen 350 at one point, and then I was watching, and then it beeped, and you stopped, and Jared goes, "No, there's 30 seconds left." Yeah. And you guys went 30 seconds more, and so I figured it was 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that clock. It gives you a 30-second warning, which a lot of times I think that's the end of the round. Then I'm like, oh, shit, we got 30 seconds left. But yeah, we were going actually 5 minutes and 4 second rounds. I saw 5:04 on there.
I'm actually glad I didn't know that before we started, because I'd be like, oh, fuck. I'd be even more nervous. But it was a great workout, and I wish I would have been able to, weather permitting, had gone yesterday to my first workout. Something I want to bring up, it's going to bring us full circle back to food and nutrition, is I got to meet a really cool guy who I wouldn't have met if you don't step out of your comfort zone, if you don't step out of your little box and you go to different places, you're not going to meet really interesting people. You don't afford yourself the opportunity to do that. And I met a really neat guy, Bo. And you guys were talking, and while we were rolling around, I would take a break from rolling around. People would keep rolling. I would look over and I'd watch this guy who is a very slender built, smaller guy. I mean, he's tall. He's tall, but he's very slender, very lean.
And he's got a fight coming up, so he's been probably trying to shed some pounds to make weight. But he's probably like 170 or so.
If I were to see this guy in the street, I wouldn't think anything of him. I would think, oh, so you program computers. I bet you're a sweet guy. And this guy
He's a
was
badass
extremely-
motherfucker.
He really is.
This guy was extremely impressive, and of course I'm gauging everything off of the Matt meter. The Matt meter is I'm Matt and I'm at 0, and Rocky is above me, and Jared is above Rocky, and both of them schooled me. And then Jared rolled around with Bo, and I saw Bo putting Jared in moves that Jared didn't want to be in. You know, I'm not going to say he owned Jared or anything like that. He just put Jared in positions that Jared didn't want to be in. And I thought, oh my God, this guy is easily, 40, 50 pounds lighter than me. It's all about technique. It's all about knowing where the other person is.
Bo's the shit. He really is.
He is really, and to watch him, I was like, whoa. He came up to me before we started rolling around, before we started doing anything. He's like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, hey, I'm Matt.
Yeah, Bo's one of the originals.
And he goes, I'll come by. I'll roll with you. And I was really looking forward to it until I saw him rolling around with other people, and people are tapping, and yeah. But he was really impressive.
So did he start in the basement with Keone then?
Yeah, Bo's my age. He's 33. And he started, he's one of the originals. There's like an original crew of 5 who started when, they were 15 or 16 or so. And so he's been doing this for a very long time. And he's very experienced, very good jiu-jitsu artist. And one thing I want to go back on, you said that I'm above you and then Jared's above me. I don't think Jared's above me. I just want to say that real quick.
I apologize.
Jared is very good, but I give Jared all kinds of problems.
Oh, all right.
And he'll attest to that.
Demonize. You heard it here.
He's never once submitted me. I'll say this.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I love
Well,
Jared.
There's some egos in the room. When
You know
just
what?
take
There's
it
some
easy,
honesty,
Jesus.
though. I said both of them were above me.
That's right.
All right.
You started there.
All right.
I love Jared like a brother, but hey, come on.
But yeah, watching Bo roll around with these guys, and he's extremely flexible. He had the guy, one of the guys in rubber guard. Who was the other guy that was there that he was sparring with?
Oh, he was sparring with Brent Stepanek. Who is actually with Keone in Los Angeles right now. He'll be in his corner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's also a fighter. Yeah.
God, they're fucking hitting each other. I was just watching that, just going, Jesus.
And
they
actually-
had all that stuff on, the protective stuff on.
Right.
Oh,
Both those guys are in LA right now with Keone right now, actually.
Oh, okay.
Bo and Brent are there. So
Cool.
But it kind of all ended. We all got done rolling around, and it ended, and we were sitting around against the wrestling mat walls, and we started just talking about nutrition and food and what's he doing? What's this person's shake? What are we doing? What are you using was it the NutriBullet?
yeah, that's what I use.
I think I'm going to get one because they're pretty awesome.
Really?
Yeah, because, what I like about it is you can blend, turn it right side up, unscrew the blender bottom to it.
Just put a cap on,
screw a
done.
cap on, you're done. Right now I do a big
Super
blender
easy.
full, pour it into a container, take that to work, use a shaker container at work. I don't know. I just think it would be easier. That's just me.
and
though.
it
It's
might
pretty
be.
easy.
It might be. But it really started this whole idea of what's nutrition or what's nutritious, how hard is it? I had made the comment that it's so difficult to eat well because of my habits, because of everything that I have surrounding me. Because you throughout your life you surround yourself with what's comfortable, and you always have within arm's reach what you think you need, what you think makes you happy. And I told both those guys, Rocky and Bo, I'm like, you know what I need? I need to go somewhere. I need a spa type of a thing. I need to leave my home for a month and have somebody show me day in and day out how to eat super healthy. What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? How to plan out my meals. Show me actually what do I need to eat? How much do I need to eat? And then after a month of trying to put these customs into my head, into my daily routine, then I feel like I could come back and actually live healthy. And
Don't you think it'd be really difficult for you to live healthy with what you guys feed your kids? I don't think you do
Yes
a
and
bad
no.
job. I'm just saying, sugary cereals, chips, the things that I think would be really difficult to cut out. If I would not be able to be eating in my house if I had those things around. I would not be able to. I'll eat a box of Lucky Charms like nobody's business. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think the biggest battle would be between me and my wife, because she would want to save money, or she would want to, because she wouldn't be going through the same thing I'd be going through. She would still be in the same mindset of what to get for groceries and get what the kids like to eat, blah, blah. But the kids will eat what we make them.
Well, that's what I've found, is that we only have stuff. I mean, this is terrible. It's a very bland household, but Honey Nut Cheerios is the only cereal we have in our house is Honey Nut Cheerios, because it's for the most part okay, but it's probably not the best.
As far as we know right now, until there's some report that comes out.
Yeah, exactly. But supposedly they don't use high fructose corn syrup in it. That's one of the reasons why I use it. It does use honey. I'm sure there's sugar in there as well. I probably haven't looked very close to that, but it doesn't use high fructose corn syrup. That's why I thought it would be good. So that's the cereal we have in our house. If they want cereal, that's what they have. They like eggs. We have that. We buy one kind of chip in our house, and that's the blue corn organic chips. That's it. If they want that, they can have guacamole and salsa with that. But that's like our and like we have apples for snacks. We have those applesauce packet things, those squeeze things. Those are snacks. Cheese sticks are snacks. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's kind of what our food is snack-wise. And that's a bigger thing for me. I can make meals all the time. It's the snacky stuff that can be trouble. And so my wife said the other day, what do we want for kids' snacks for their lunch bags, right? And I usually buy those 100-calorie little cookie packets, for kids, because I knew it's not too much sugar, and a little pack's perfect for their lunch. She buys at Costco the biggest fucking box of Rice Krispie treats I've ever seen in my life. Right?
Pretty much the opposite of what you had asked for.
And I didn't. Yeah. And so I was looking. I'm like, what'd you do this for? And she's like, what? They love stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but I fucking love it too.
Yeah, and
I'll eat 10 of those fucking things in a sitting.
While you were at Sam's Club, did you get the economy
Costco,
size?
I hate
I'm sorry,
Sam's
Costco.
Club.
When you were at Costco, did you get the economy size diabetes shots?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny coming from me, because I am the biggest consumer of sugar in this room.
I'm going to tell a really quick a Matt and Todd story. We when we lived together, when we were both single, we used to buy bulk amounts of food. And so we bought a quarter of a pig one time. We ate pork chops like every meal for like a month and a half straight, something crazy like that.
Yep.
And we had this dog, Mojo, wonderful dog, died of cancer. Great guy, big, humongous, chocolate lab, and what's the one with the barrels underneath him?
Rottweiler and Siberian Husky mix. That's what the mix was.
He was what's the one with the barrels?
Siberian Husky. Oh, no. You're right. I'm sorry. What's
the cartoons? It's,
the keg of beer
underneath their neck from the old cartoons.
Is it a Siberian Husky?
It's not a Siberian Husky. It's a big fucking dog. Anyways, Mo was great. He went to Sam's and bought an entire box of gum. Right? Thinking I'll eat it eventually. It's going to save me money instead of buying a pack at a time at the gas station. So he's not missing his gum, but I'm outside picking up dog shit because it's my turn, right, in the household on the chore wheel, and I find a pile of dog shit that is silver.
Nice.
And so what Mo did was that he broke in the box of gum that he bought at Sam's and ate it all, and then that foil wrapping that's around the gum, that's what was. It looked like his shit was like somebody cast it in silver. Because he had eaten this whole box of gum. That poor dog must have had a hell of a time eating that gum.
Never heard of a dog wanting gum.
He was goofy. He was one of those guys who would sit there and just stare at you. He didn't bark. The one time he did bark, some leaves blew across the front yard, and he happened to catch him out of the corner of his eyes, and he goes, "Whoa," like that. And we all fucking, what the fuck was that? Because he'd never heard a peep out of his mouth before that.
It took all of his body. It looked like it took all of his body inertia to get that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Hey, I was going to tell you, Rock has been introduced to spirulina.
Yes.
Yeah, he brought that up the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he's talking about how much it changed his smoothies. And so going back to food is
so what is
it's an algae. It's an algae.
Is it a sweetener? Is it what is
no.
It's a blue green algae that naturally grows in lakes and ponds and things like that.
And it's full of chlorophyll. I mean, it's just jam packed with like the greenest stuff that you want to have in your body, right? We talk about kale, spirulina when it's broken down into like a powder form. I think is probably what you put in your smoothies.
Yep.
It is just like the densest thing you can eat. And I would always say that it's probably better than taking vitamins because instead of your body trying to break down that little rock in your stomach, this stuff, if it's blended with a smoothie, it's just going to be absorbed right away.
I mean, that's just it. If we're all eating what we're supposed to be eating, if we're all eating a variety of stuff and it's fruits and vegetables, and we don't really truly need supplementation unless you're trying to bulk up.
Right. But I mean, this stuff is high in protein, right? It's got vitamin, it's got B12 in it. It's got omega 3s. It's got tons of anti-inflammatory, benefits to it. It's better than they say. It's better than fish oil.
It's ridiculous.
To take.
It's
like you said. It's a superfood. I mean, it really
where'd you
is.
find it? You said you couldn't find it the other day.
Well, no, I didn't look hard enough at Hy-Vee, but it is at Hy-Vee in the health food section in powder form.
Okay.
And I actually went to a different Hy-Vee, and they had it in powder and also pill form, supplement form. But I ended up going to a place called Vitamin World at the mall, and I bought a couple little tubs of it, and I started adding that to my smoothies in the morning, and also I started doing smoothies in the evening now too. So I'm getting a double dose of spirulina twice a day now. But it's the organic stuff is the stuff I really want. The stuff I bought at Vitamin World is not organic. I really want the organic stuff. And they have that at Hy-Vee, and it's $45 a pound.
Jesus,
but that's a pound.
Yeah, a pound of spirulina will last you a shitload of a long time.
Because you're saying like a teaspoon is really strong tasting in your smoothie.
Yeah.
It changes it.
You can't take more. If you could take much more than a tablespoon of this shit at one time, then hey, you are pretty awesome. Because it tastes like dog shit.
It's fucking algae. Like, if it's off a lake, you can only imagine it's probably not the. But I'm going to list them off really quick here because I think it's important.
Okay.
So it's got it's 65% protein and amino acids, including fatty acids. It's anti-inflammatory. It has omegas 3, 6, and 9s. Right. It's high in chlorophyll, like I said. It's got tons of iron. It has let's see. I said B1, B2, B3, B6, B9, vitamin C, vitamin D, A, E. It's also a source of potassium, calcium, chromium, copper, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, selenium, sodium, and zinc, right? Which are all the things you need to have to absorb all of that correctly. Everybody pops all kinds of different pills so that this absorbs better than.
But if you don't have the other minerals in your digestive system already, a healthy digestive tract, you're not going to absorb that good shit anyway.
It's got 26 times the calcium of milk.
Oh.
So so in other words, this goes back to what we said earlier. We're fed a bill of goods that you need to drink milk to be healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, that's the dairy industry. It's making sure that you think that all the time. That still happens. I mean,
I mean, it started back in the day.
Oh, sure. You still have athletes with the milk mustache to this day that are in ESPN magazine and shit like that. Got milk stuff. I mean, it's in there. But I mean, a cup of broccoli has as much calcium as a cup of milk does, so that's ridiculous. But it just sounds like spirulina has helped in like people have allergies. People that have inflammatory issues, inflammatory stuff is, we always talk about that because we're all athletes and everything's inflamed all the time if we're not taking care of ourselves. I just think it's one of those things that I've always thought a lot of it. And he started talking about it again and then started taking it. And I was like, okay, if it's at Hy-Vee, there's no excuse not to be.
Yeah, organic at Hy-Vee.
Not to be taking it. I mean, you're almost stupid not to be putting it in a smoothie. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Completely changes it too. I mean, it's so dense. This stuff is so dense with nutrients that I can take a big, large cup full of spinach and frozen berries and orange and pineapple, just full of all kinds of other produce, and then put a little teaspoon of this stuff, and it completely changes the way it tastes, and it completely changes the color, and it completely changes the texture and the whole makeup of this drink. This stuff is just.
So you're saying it takes it from being delicious
to not so delicious.
To not so delicious.
Yeah. Does it make it earthy? Does it make it kind of earthy dirt? I mean, I would say that, but I mean, it makes it earthy.
That's a good way of putting it. When I could not drink this stuff with just water and then mixing it in water. We'll put it that way. It has to be done the way that I'm doing it now. And the way that I'm doing it now is with some very high sugary fruits like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all those types of berries, and then like an orange or some pineapple. And that is not even enough to override a teaspoon of this stuff.
That's crazy.
Like, this stuff is strong.
I've never tried it. I've got to try it.
What is the all natural sweetener?
Stevia.
Stevia.
Oh,
Fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess that. Have you tried to put stevia? It doesn't increase your blood sugar doesn't spike. It has no effect.
I've
on your
never
blood
heard
sugar.
of stevia, so
It's
supposed to be an
the
all-natural-
number one now, because back in the day it was Splenda and all this stuff. Those are all chemically based. The stevia or
This is all
stevia
natural.
is completely all natural and 0-calorie sweetener made from plants.
Right.
So it's supposed to be like the one that CrossFitters use for paleo.
It doesn't.
All that kind of stuff.
You get a sweetener, but it doesn't make your body produce insulin. It doesn't spike your blood sugar at all. But it makes you might want to try that with your smoothie.
Oh, the taste doesn't bother me, to be honest. The taste is totally fine. I actually kind of like a little bit of an earthy taste, but you got to find the right balance with this stuff, because if you don't have those high sugary fruits along with the spirulina, then it's going to taste really bad.
Now, what I'd be curious is what's a good proper dose of it? Was there anything on there?
Like a day?
Yeah, let's say a tablespoon.
A tablespoon a day is how you...
Or per serving. They say... I've read some articles that said that spirulina is believed to... It could be able to cure, some parts of hunger in some parts of the world.
It's just chock full of so much stuff.
Right, but if anybody can eat enough... it has 65% protein, right?
Right.
So you could realistically get your daily source of protein from it, but it tastes so bad, you can't just sit there and just gnaw on spirulina and get all your protein for a day's worth.
My thought would be is if you could do, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for sure. I think I might stop by Hy-Vee tomorrow, but I'm going to try it because I do 64-ounce blenderfuls of smoothies that last me 2 days. I do two. Yeah, I do 4 smoothies, 2 a day from that large blend. And if I can put 2 tablespoons of spirulina in that, that's a half tablespoon per serving. So a full tablespoon a day of it.
That'll change the whole way it tastes. Guaranteed. I guarantee
Well, and see, right now, I'm not drinking a lot of smoothies and like sitting back and then sipping and enjoying them anyways. I just drink them.
Yeah, just down them.
I just do, and not because they taste bad. It's just, I don't want fucking kale in my teeth and shit. And I got chia seeds in there. I got all kinds of stuff in there trying to add some bulk. And so I just tend to just drink them. I don't sit there and like sip on it with a straw and an umbrella in my drink, Well, so adding spirulina is not that big of a deal anyways.
They say you're supposed to, chew your smoothies anyway, because the saliva, there's a reason why we have saliva, that we produce saliva.
Huh.
It actually helps with the breaking down of the food in your stomach. So when you're doing these green smoothies, which I learned about these green smoothies through
Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead was the first time
Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead. That you can watch that whole thing free on YouTube. Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead.
It's pretty amazing.
I've only had one and a half beers.
That's one of those things that you watch that movie, and it makes, along with Food Inc. is a bigger deal about our industrial food complex. But Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead is one of those ones where it's like, if you flood your body with nutrients and you pull all the shit out of your diet, your body will 100% heal itself. That movie is a testament to that. I'm sure there's been other things too, but it's probably the dramatic way that he did it with traveling across America and juicing everything local and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But to see him get off all those medications, being pre-diabetic, losing 60 pounds in, was it a month or two? I can't remember what it was. But it was just him saying, okay, I'm removing everything else, and I'm just going to flood my system with pure, organically good food for me.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of... Like Rocky said, you can go on Facebook and you can indoctrinate yourself with all these really positive channels of from people that know what they're talking about. Another source that I got into was the Raw Family, and it's a book that was written by Victoria Butanko. She's a Russian mother who her whole family came to the United States, and her son and daughter and her husband were having these health issues, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was just like, what could I do? I'm responsible for their health. What can I do? Well, she started looking at like what kind of animals are generally extremely healthy, and she started looking at apes because they're the closest relative to us genetically speaking, and looking at what they eat. So she went to the zoos, and she talked to the animal trainers and stuff like that, and were like, hey, what are you feeding the apes? And they're like, oh, these dark leafy greens. That's what they eat. They're formed in such a way that the apes are that they just gnaw on these dark leafy greens all day long. That's all they do. That's all they eat. Is this stuff. And when you think of an ape, they're so powerful. They have so much fucking muscle mass. And to think that all they're doing is eating greens, all they're doing is eating vegetation all day long. So a testament to what Rocky was saying is you can't have just spirulina. And what she noticed was she couldn't have just kale.
Right.
She couldn't have just spinach because it would make you fucking sick. So to blend that stuff in with your fruits and bananas and even an avocado to make it smooth, it makes such a huge difference. So if you want to, if people whoever's listening to this want more information on like a raw family food diet, I would totally endorse going to the Raw Family on YouTube and listening to their story. They have a lot of great videos, and Sergey Butanko is the son, and he has a video on there about how I reversed diabetes naturally for himself. It's a really pretty fucking cool thing, and I think that we're missing out on such an important food topic, which, I mean, we're getting led down the wrong path. And when Rocky and I were talking last Saturday about me wishing I went to, I could get away and go to some place that only dealt with eating raw food and teaching me how to eat properly, I was thinking of this YouTube documentary that was created called Cancer, The Forbidden Cures. And I'm going to play a little bit for you now, just the beginning of it, because it's so fucking eye-opening. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I got from that video.
Cancer every day. This translates to 8 million deaths every year, 500,000 of which are Americans. At the beginning of the last century, 1 person out of 20 would get cancer. In the 1940s, it was 1 out of every 16 people. In the 1970s, 1 person out of 10. Today, 1 person out of 3 gets cancer in the course of their life. Over 1 million Americans are diagnosed with a new cancer every year.
Just those facts right there. We're going away from where we need to be. We were closer to being where we should be at the turn of the century, in the 19th century, in the early 1900s. We were closer where we needed to eat, what we needed to eat nutritionally, back then than we are now. So when you hear, hey, go for a run to cure cancer, we're raising money, we're beating the cancer. We're not beating cancer. We're coming up with treatments so that when the people get cancer, we can treat them. We're not coming up with a cure so that you never get cancer.
And I think the bigger piece of that too is that there is a cure for cancer. And that's nutrition. I mean, you don't have wait, I shouldn't say you don't have. There are I'm sure there are plenty of doctors out there that are, I mean, I know that doctors are prescribing vegetables to patients now. because
Are they really?
They're not eating what they're supposed to be eating. So if a doctor says, a person of authority says, okay, listen, you need 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I want you to sit down with this list, pick out your favorite fruits and vegetables, and I want to make sure you hit some of these every single day so that you're getting the things you need, because people won't do it on their own. Like that Food Inc. thing said, for the amount of money you can spend to buy a bushel of organic broccoli, you could buy 5 things at the dollar menu at McDonald's. So unless you are told by somebody, this is the way you should do it, people aren't doing it. Look at us. You and I have been talking about nutrition for a majority of our lives, our relationship together as buddies, and we still don't do it like we know we should do.
True.
You know what I mean? So I think it's, I don't know. I can see how a person of authority would need to step in and say, okay, like I told you, I don't think things would really change for me drastically. I feel like they are, but I'm not convinced of it yet because I know myself too well. It's going to take somebody saying, listen, you have diabetes, or you're on the edge of having diabetes. You can't do this anymore. You're going to die. Or you have cancer and this is what's going on. And if you don't stop doing this, this is what's going to happen to you. Like an absolute black or white ultimatum for me to go, okay, Jesus Christ, now I have to stop. Now it's going to be the end of me if I don't. It doesn't matter how many things I'm told on a regular basis of what's healthy and what's not healthy. That's going to lead me down a bad path. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's human nature. I think it's just me, but I'm hoping that I can change my way of thinking before that happens. But
well, yeah, the thing that I think is kind of cool is it's kind of hard for me not to see when you want to go down a certain path, somehow, for some reason, little pieces. I don't know if it's because you open your eyes and you want to be more aware of what's out there, what is always out there. But I opened myself up to go to jiu-jitsu and to go to Hard Drive MMA, and then we talked to Rocky more about, him and I are talking about nutrition, and then I meet Bo, and then he's talking about it, and then it just spurs and creates more lines of thought and inspires you to want to change, when you want to go down that path. But it's hard. What I think is hard about it is that you're constantly running into roadblocks. And I think one of the reasons why we have roadblocks is because this kind of says it perfectly in this video. And again, this is Cancer, the Forbidden Cures, and you can watch it on YouTube for free.
Apparatus. Cancer is a big business, one of the biggest businesses. The typical cancer patient spends at least $50,000 to treat his or her disease. With 1 million new American cancer patients every year, that translates to $50 billion annually spent on cancer treatment in the United States.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And do you think the people that are making that money, do you really think that those people want the message to get out and it to be popular that, hey, all you got to do is eat right and you won't get sick?
Right.
Just eat right and you don't need to get your flu shots. Just eat right and work out, and you don't need this, that, and the other thing. I don't think those guys don't want that message out there because it's free. It's an easy fix.
And I hate to get conspiratorial. Thank you. But you think about the medical industry and you think about the food industry.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if they're on purpose in cahoots for certain things, but it seems like, one feeds into the other, have them eat shit, have them peer poison down their body, whether it's pop or alcohol or sugar, have them eat the worst thing. Let's have our industrial food complex to a point where we're producing all this corn that has absolutely no value at all. It's being turned into a substance that we can sweeten things with. The meat is fed, things and antibiotics that don't taste very good that actually affect your body. That works out perfect because on the backside, I'm going to own this pharmaceutical company that's doing nothing but making money off of curing this guy's heartburn or whatever it is.
Right.
If anybody who has heartburn knows, all you got to do is stop eating half the shit you're eating, and your heartburn's going to go away.
The middleman is between both those industries.
The government,
the FDA.
Yeah,
exactly. And they're the ones who make the rules for everything. So you're going to see that happen.
Yeah.
And that's why we can't have government controlling every little aspect of our lives.
I mean, and the ultimate goal is we talked in the past about unplugging, whether it's electricity or living off the grid, those kind of things. It almost makes just as much sense to live off the grid when it comes to your food.
Of course, yeah.
Why not find some dude that was willing to raise your cows and slaughter them for you, so you have 2 cows a year that you keep track of, and then all of your food is produced on your own. Can you jar apples?
I think you can jar just about fucking anything.
Because part of me is thinking, we were talking earlier about not having the availability of certain fruits. Because I went to Nubo Market, I think last Wednesday or Thursday, and I went to Big Boy Meats and got some meat that I wanted to buy specifically from him because I like supporting his stuff. It was expensive, first of all, and I thought I might have a chance of getting some produce down there. Empty of produce.
Really?
Yeah, it was not, and it was on a weekday, so I'm not sure. Maybe a weekend they try to do.
Well,
a
if you
better
go there
job,
on Thursday, I mean they're open Thursday,
it was Thursday when I was there.
Thursday night, Friday night, then Saturday and Sunday. So
Right.
if you were there, but
Thursday
the
evening.
first day, yeah.
I was there Thursday evening, and there was no produce at all. And I went to the lady who was Millstream Brewery is right behind that kind of produce area, and I said, "No produce today." She's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. They didn't bring anything in today." So part of me thought that you'd have to. When I know people who have apple orchards, it's like 5 apple trees that just sit there and the fruit rots and falls off the tree and nobody eats it, or some of us do. And so why not go out and get fucking 10 bushels of apples and can all of them? You can have apples all winter long that don't have any shit in them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. One of my buddies and I were talking about, I want to get a pressure cooker. Now, this was right before the pressure cooker bombs that went off at the Boston Marathon.
Nice. So now if you buy one, they think you're a terrorist?
Well, who knows?
You get put on a list.
I'm sure you get put on a list because you don't want anybody stocking up on food. You can make a bomb out of anything, I'm sure. I don't know.
That's
I haven't looked into
terrorist.
it. But yeah, I've been wanting to do that when you see a good sale on organic chicken, or your buddy tags a deer. Or you've bought a deer tag for your buddy, and he takes down the deer. He does all the fun stuff by killing it, whatever. And yeah, Tim said that he would totally jar or can that deer for me.
That sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible because we don't eat that way anymore. But all of this stuff, you put some seasoning in it. There's whole cookbooks that go just about canning. It shows you how to can everything, whether it's tomatoes and vegetables like that, or if it's fruits, or if it's meats, chicken and beef or venison.
It'd be awesome to take a jar of deboned chicken that's in a jar already pulled apart and sitting there. And you dump that in a pot, and you dump in some potatoes and some carrots, and you just fucking cook it.
It's totally cooked. No, it's already cooked.
Oh, it's already cooked.
When you pressure cook it, it steams it or it heats it up to such a degree it's cooked. It's totally cooked, and it seals it.
You would do that with vegetables. You're talking about meat, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, everything is done that way. It's all done that way. And then when you pop the lid, you could just warm it up again, and it's already cooked. It stays good for I don't know how many years.
Interesting.
But that's how they all did it back in the day.
I don't remember I remember canning vegetables, fruits and vegetables for sure. Meat I've never heard of before until you started about the prepper stuff, and it freaked me out. Just because the picture. This is horrible.
They do MREs all the time.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. The picture in my head though was of a whole chicken in a jar, sealed. And then when you dump it out, it's all fucking mushy and nasty. That's what I think.
They got new ways of doing it now. They got freeze-dried ways of doing meat. You can buy freeze-dried meat that's got all the moisture taken out of it.
So you just take it. You take it. It's like in the cartoon. You take an eyedropper and you go, bing. One little thing goes. A whole turkey.
No, you just eat it. You eat the
It's like those fucking astronaut meals. Remember eating the ice cream, the astronaut ice cream back in the day when you were a kid? You had the strawberry and the vanilla and the chocolate all together, and it tasted like shit.
I grew up in Washington, D.C. I went to high school in Washington, D.C., and the Air and Space Museum in D.C. has that astronaut ice cream there, and I used to think it was the coolest thing ever.
Hey.
Tastes like shit, but...
Before I forget, Todd is going to be competing this fucking Saturday. Yeah. It's his second competition in CrossFit, and I wish him the best of fucking luck. And I've actually gotten really kind of nervous for you since this whole Kevin Ogar thing happened a week ago or a few weeks ago. Kevin Ogar, Ogar, and you can go to his website, kevinogar.com. He snapped his fucking spine doing
Severed
something.
it. Severed his spine.
Okay, I don't know the difference. What's the difference between snapping and severing?
Snapping as it broke. Something happened and hit him and severed his spine, I think is what happened. I actually don't know exactly what happened.
Well, he's had multiple surgeries, and they don't know if he's going to be able to walk again. He can't feel his legs, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to make fun of it. It's a terrible thing. But I bring it up because if you want to donate money to Kevin Ogar, if you're one of our listeners and you're really into CrossFit and you really can't stand it when things like this happen to what sounds like a really neat guy, the reporter that went to his gym, I guess he's a personal trainer at one of the CrossFit gyms in Denver, Colorado. I hope I'm not completely fucking that up. But I guess he's a really neat guy, and he doesn't have any insurance. So people are trying to donate money to him to pay for his medical bills, and I hope to God you don't sever your goddamn spine.
Well, what did he do? He was doing snatches. He was doing snatches, and when he got the weight overhead, he lost control of the weight over his head, and it came down on his back and severed his spine at the 11th vertebrae. And a lot of people have talked about losing weight over their head like that and getting hit in the back. This is just one of those fucking freak accidents.
What workout was he doing? Was he doing a workout where you have to do a certain number of snatches as fast as you can, or just just doing for weight, or
it just all it says is that he missed a snatch and it came and hit him in the back and severed his spinal cord.
Now here's the amazing thing about the internet and computers and stuff. It went from literally, I have no fucking idea what happened to him, to 5 seconds later, Todd had the answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's awesome. We're going to put this on the website, right? So people can donate if they'd like.
KevinOgar.com.
Awesome. And again, I have had lots of people at my workplace talk to me. They don't know who the guy is, but they've heard about this horrible accident that happened doing CrossFit. And I'm the first person that just says,
don't know.
I don't know. And you know what? When people do athletics that are high intensity and it's a sport, shit happens. Whether it's a guy doing powerlifting and you've seen those YouTube videos, the guy's fucking legs just snapping in, their knee blows out, or football or anything. Shit happens sometimes when you do high level athletics. And it's just part of this. Trust me, I guarantee you he was snatching something that I don't even want to snatch. And he's probably a serious Olympic weightlifter on top of being a CrossFitter. He's a very big, strong fucking guy. He's a beast of a man. And so it's just shit happens.
Kind of reminds me of Rocky.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, come on now.
He's a beast.
Not as handsome though. Rock's pretty good looking.
No, come on.
Clean shaven fella. And smart as a whip.
I don't know about that.
Sharp as a tack.
Sharp as a tack.
I don't have it. Those are the only ones I have.
Well, I was gonna start going down a different road, but it's like that's not the ones I want to go with. Like he's not the sharpest tool in the
shed.
Yeah, but that's the other way.
That's the other way.
That's the other way. I don't want that way.
Go for it.
I don't want that way.
I don't want that way either.
I want to show you one other thing that I think is kind of silly. Okay, we all have these questions, and we all want to look for answers. And some people say, and I at times say this also, the internet is an amazing thing. And we have so many answers that we can get from the internet. But the internet is also inundated with stupid, silly bullshit. And it's so easy to get lost in the stupid, silly bullshit. I know Keone has made comments about you need to be well informed about politics. Well, I can go out and I can search out opinions that support my opinion, and I can say it's factual. Okay, it's really hard. It's a lot harder, I think, than people think to get factual information to know it's factual.
This isn't Tosh Poino with the bowling ball into the crotch thing, is it?
No.
He wanted to see what it felt like to get a bowling ball on the crotch, so he was on like one of those water slides, but it was turned off, and they rolled the bowling ball down, and he let it hit him in the crotch. And he's like, just on his show, he's like, just to those of you who thought this might have been fake. On his show, he drops his pants. He has a bowling ball size
fucking bruise
on the inside of his thigh. And I was like, dude, you are you're so much better than the jackass guys. Let's not do that anymore, please.
Well, I bring this up because if you get on YouTube and you want to try and type around what is good to eat, or maybe I'm eating the wrong thing and I should be doing something else, you might come across this sweet, beautiful, delicious little Aussie called the Banana Girl.
No fruit bats. It's Freely the Banana Girl here. Today is day 4
Whoa.
of the 30 videos in 30 days. And today's topic is getting fat on a high carb, on a raw food lifestyle.
You look pretty fat. Turner, do a swirl for us.
Do a swirl.
Swirl the physique.
Now,
hello.
There's no cellulite in the back of your legs anymore.
No, do you remember there used to be? At the start, there used to be.
What sort of treatment did you get?
No treatment.
Did you buy one of...
Now, see, the crazy thing is, it's so hard to believe. What should I do? Is this the way to go? Should I eat nothing but fruit? Should I just follow what she says because she looks fucking amazing? That chick is fuckable every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And she used to be this kind of a larger lady.
She did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what you should have shown as the fucking before picture. I'm looking at this going, Jesus.
Well, what I'm telling you is you start skipping around on YouTube looking for answers, and you're going to come across a sexy little vixen, and people are going to say, oh, well, she looks great. Maybe I should do what she's doing. But then you're going to find, with just a couple of clicks of the button, there's somebody saying, no, you don't want to eat just fruit, because fruitarians, because there's people called fruitarians, they eat nothing but fruit.
Right.
All their teeth are rotting out of their mouth. And then you go back and watch this girl, and you're like, but she's really hot. And even if all her teeth are out of her mouth.
Oh my God, it's the first fucking thing I thought. That's so horrible. How are we on the same page? This is so wrong. We shouldn't be friends anymore.
We shouldn't be friends, or it's a sign that we were destined to be friends. Because this, okay.
She is pretty hot.
Banana Girl. If you're
the first thing you said, Banana Girl, is the first thing that popped in my head too. So forget about the teeth. Yeah.
So if you are a warm-blooded male, if your private part works properly,
and she's got a cool accent.
Yeah, you want to get turned on by a YouTube video? Go to a Banana Girl and just check her out.
And so she did 30 days of eating a certain way.
She does. She's been eating a certain way for a long time, and her channel is basically about, she eats a shit ton of bananas. I mean, she just eats a shit ton of fruit. And again, depending on where you click, on where you go on the internet, you'll have a group of people that say that's a terrible way to eat. But then you have a visual of her, and she's like, this is what I eat.
Yeah, but what she looks like on the outside is not indicative of what's going on inside. You know, it could be
you're right.
fucking up her insides for all we know.
Yeah, for all we know. I'm just saying the internet is not this. I hear Joe Rogan say, this is the best time ever. We have so much knowledge out there. We have so much truth out there. No. We are inundated with words. And depending on where you click, you're either going to get the truth or you're going to get something that's...
But at the same time, I see what Joe Rogan's saying, though, because here's one example. Without the internet, how many of us would have known that Abraham Lincoln was like a huge racist? Or would we have just believed what we were taught in school, that he was a honest Abe who freed the slaves? I mean, I would not have sought out a book at the public library, without the internet, to find out this information. It was an internet meme or an internet link that I saw on a social media site that made me interested in this topic.
You have to have a good filter too. I think that's the key. You have to be a thoughtful person and not just take everything you see for fucking granted.
Right, exactly. And understand how to evaluate information independently.
Yeah, and if you have two extreme examples of somebody who eats bananas all day and some other guy saying you shouldn't eat bananas all day long, there's got to be a happy medium in there somewhere.
Think about how much government could get away with before the internet. Before the internet, like, how hard would it be for regular people to find out what these guys are doing behind the scenes? Now we've got... investigative reporters on the internet who are not regulated by government giving us those answers. So there's a lot of good things out there. I'm not trying to take away from what you're saying. There's a lot of bullshit information out there and a lot of manipulative information out there. Sure, that's out there, but like,
She's really distracting. I'm having a hard time listening to rock while I watch her silently on.
I hit mute and I kept playing it and I just stared at Todd's eyes. And he can't stop staring at her because her body is delicious.
Well, and she's called the Banana Girl.
Delicious.
She's hot.
Sorry, Rock.
I wouldn't mind meeting her someday. I'm sure she has a wealth of knowledge.
I'm sure she's a wonderful person.
She probably is a wonderful person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has tons of yeah. She has a bunch of attributes.
Is there anything in a bikini that I can see more attributes? Or
I'm sure there's something.
Boy, she dresses horribly. She's really ugly.
Yeah, see that's tough.
There you go.
That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
God bless her.
I'm just saying. We can't
be misogynist pigs the whole time.
Actually, I can be. We can do whatever we want, but it's a little bit harder to find the truth. It is cool. You can go out there. You can really do the research and look things up. It's without the internet, I wouldn't have seen the cancer, the forbidden cure. And I really, really, really hope people hear this podcast and they watch that documentary, because there's a lot of things in there that I didn't play and have you guys listen to. There's a lot of things in there that, put aside the conspiracy theory part of it and just think of it as a natural, strong thinking human being. And you'll say, holy shit, there's a lot to what we eat. There's a lot to what we eat. And me going to a fast food joint is probably the worst thing I could be doing. I could be probably plunging a knife into myself, and it would be healthier than going to some.
I think I said
some
this
of these places
in a past podcast. They say that your body can healthily handle a fast food meal once a month if you're eating clean otherwise. That it's so toxic that your body can handle it once a month and you can get around it. But my thought would be that if you're eating clean enough for a whole month, you probably wouldn't even want to.
What do they mean by handle? Because I know there's a lot of people who eat it more than once a month that are still living.
I mean, I think it's your body's ability to process toxins and things like that. Yeah,
gotcha.
I think
without it having ill effects.
Ill effects on you. Yeah. Yep.
Gosh, if that's true, just think about all the people out there who it's a huge part of their diet.
Or think about that they're so poor. I mean, I know people who are poor enough that to go and get fruits and vegetables from a store is outside their budget. And so $1 menu is where they eat because that is what they can afford.
And like on Food Inc., it was the guy who made the video was talking about how that's not an accident, how the shitty foods are subsidized so largely.
Fuck yeah.
So therefore they can sell it at a lower cost. And, then you look at that compared to the healthy foods, which are not subsidized. What are you going to choose if you're on a strict budget?
Especially, and I think an easy comparison for us here at Iowa would be a bushel of sweet corn and how that's subsidized and what costs go into that, and a bucket of high fructose corn syrup that's got some of the highest subsidies for farmers out there.
I don't know. The thing is, maybe everybody should be a little bit more thoughtful when you buy your food. Research what you're eating. Don't be closed-minded to how horrible things that you're putting in your mouth could be for you. And again, if you're a parent, what you're doing to your kid, think of the ramifications of this. Think about what the impact is 40 years from now when your child is 40 and your child has diabetes, or maybe your child is 13 and has diabetes. Look what you're putting in your child's mouth. Your child isn't going to the grocery store and purchasing the food to put into his mouth or her mouth. Your child is only there and accepting what you are giving them.
And I'm going to give parents a little bit of a way out and say that you and I aren't perfect at some of this stuff.
Don't do it.
No, because I know that I make mistakes, and there are times when I'm running out of time. I have no fucking time to go home and make a good meal like I try to do on a regular basis, and I have to run by Wendy's. I mean, that's just part of my daily life sometimes.
Yeah, but that should be our shame. I'm just saying that should be our shame, and we should own it and not try to find a way out of that. It should be our shame to say we need to do better.
Yeah, and do your best.
And maybe spirulina a little bit. in a smoothie once a day.
Ooh, I wonder if you could stir it into mac and cheese. Jesus, that would solve half my problems. Just kidding.
Maybe that would be it. So Rocky,
Dad, why is my macaroni cheese black? Don't worry about it, buddy. It's a new special cheese.
Eat it. Todd, how can people? I know people are following us because they're already listening to this. But in case they want to tell some of their friends how to follow us, how would they tell their friends how to follow us?
The easiest way is to go to the Primal Scream with Matt and Todd .org. And on that page, you can listen to any of our podcasts. There are links on there as well to YouTube to be able to listen to our podcasts. You can like us on Facebook from that page. Follow us on Twitter. You can download and subscribe via iTunes. It's a wonderful thing that this wonderful company called Apple started. There's also a radio version called Sketcher. Am I right?
No, you're not right. It's Stitcher.
God damn it.
It's Stitcher.
Surgery,
Every time it's Stitcher.
Stitch it. It's like you on the goddamn date. It's the same thing. All right?
Okay, fine.
Scratcher.
I'll give you
Scratchy, scratch, stitch. Okay. Those are the fastest ways to get a hold of us. But follow us, like us, comment like crazy. I was on our email the other day and saw some comments for episode 18 that I thought were really good too. So please comment, give us feedback. We're always trying to improve and get better, and add more to the discussion because that's what this whole goddamn mess is about. So,
and we're on YouTube.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love seeing the gorilla.
I love it too.
I sent it to my mom. She thought it was cool too.
It's getting easy. It's getting easier. Every time we do it, it's getting easier.
Yeah.
So, Rocky, thank you very much for coming over tonight.
No, it's been a while.
Appreciate it. I look forward to rolling around with you again.
Saturday.
And the fight, Keone Coke.
Yeah, Friday.
This Friday is going to own Brian Ortega. I was just going to say, I'm not even going to give him the.
No, it's funny. I like it.
All right.
I think Evil Genius is a lot better than
Keone Evil Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about it more often, it's like, oh, that does fit him. Fits him really well.
It does.
It does. I love it.
Genius.
Extremely fitting.
I can't wait to see it. So, what channel is that on?
Access TV.
Yeah, AXS TV. Yeah, you got it. I think it's called Access, but if you look at on your cable internet or cable browser or whatever, it should be AXS TV. I don't watch TV, so I don't know how it works. So.
And it's going to be in Iowa. Just get on that channel around 6:30 or so, and just stay on it until you watch him fight.
Yep.
Because he is the main event, and he's gonna have an amazing walkout.
Yep. Watch the walkout. That's what I'm excited for. I'm excited about the whole thing.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Can't wait.
And this will be ready to go by. I will have this posted by Friday, so people are gonna hear this before the fight.
Sweet.
So, thanks again, Rock, for coming.
No problem.
I'm Matt.
I'm Todd.
I am Rock.
We'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.